Hey, this is the GMX, CEO of HS, CEO of Lit Pro Wrestling, GM of the Bell Time Club and Test of Strength, and you are watching the Three Count Podcast.
Do you wanna get live with me? Do you really wanna ride with me? I'm in the club, baby, grind on me.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by season 5, our 300 and something episode, I would just hope you say it with me. I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. Like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering? You can find this man at TOS. You can find this man at MLW. You can find this man at the Wrestling Open. You can find this man
Sorry
at
about that.
at a lot of different places. Man is so busy, his phone be ringing off the hook continuously. He is the CEO of everything you know, and then some. You can find this man. He is a manager. He is an owner. He is a designer. He is GMX.
Thank you, Red Dog. Appreciate the opportunity to sit here and sit down with you and, talk to biz. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. You know, it's one of those things where it's like you meet a lot of people in this business, and then you try to learn and how to network and bring everything together. So I thought for me, because like I'm a lot older in the game, right? Not like time, but just like age. Um, I wanted to like spend the 10,000 hours to like get better. And so like I develop a podcast to network with people and get to meet them and pick their brain about the business. So it's always been kind of cool to like expand this out and like reach out to new places and new people and learn new ideas from everybody.
And that's awesome, man. It's never too late to start. I mean, Diamond Dallas Page didn't take his first bump till he was 35. You know what I mean? So and look at him, Hall of Famer. Hell of a career. Awesome stories that he could tell you. So don't ever sell yourself short. Time is a construct. Time is what you make it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But there are days where I wake up and I'm like, I definitely feel 39. And there are days where I wake up and I'm like, I don't feel so bad.
Hey, man, it's gonna hurt. It's always gonna hurt. You know what I mean? You just got to make sure that what you're hurting for brings you happiness. It fulfills you in other ways. You know what I mean? Like we run two wrestling schools. Like all the boys. They go home. They're sore that night. They wake up the next morning and you know they're happy for the toll that they paid because of where they're going. So you
Yeah.
just as long as it fulfills you, man, don't stop. Keep it going.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where I enjoy this thing called professional wrestling. Like I love like taking bumps. I do love like telling fun stories. I love the character side of things. I think that's the important part is like people
Oh
want to
yeah, that's
genuinely connect. People want to genuinely connect with a person, but they want to feel like they're a part of something big too, right? So like a person that comes to mind, right? When I think about like the Wrestling Open, Ichiban is like that guy, right? Where like the crowd connects him because he can get those people hyped and they get behind him, especially when they're like you're hitting the 10 count and you just hear the crowd one, 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 and you're like, wow, like
well. See,
they're really
here's the thing with guys like Ichiban, man. It's like yeah, wrestling's on the marquee. You gotta know how to wrestle, right? But it's not just the wrestling. When he comes out there, it's a synergy with the people. Like he gives them him, and they respect him for it. They accept him for it, and that's why that reception is so organic with him wherever he goes. Whether he's at Beyond or Wrestling Open or Blitzkrieg or MLW.
Yep.
Wherever we go, the number one dojo shows up in full force because of what he leaves in the ring. And that's something that you can't really teach. You know, I can teach you the psychology of wrestling. I could teach you how to take a bump. I could teach you how to hit the ropes. We do that every single day. But giving yourself to the people is something that has to happen from you. You know what I mean? And it takes a long time to develop that. But you have to be willing to do it. You know what I mean? It's like that old saying: you don't want to give a woman more than you want her to leave with. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing in wrestling, man. The more you give, the more they'll take, and the more they take, the more they accept. So you have to do that.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like recently, and people who pay attention to the episode will know like what date we're kind of like talking about this. But I recently just did a show for Next Up Pro Wrestling in Hampton, Virginia, and
It's
it
awesome.
was so much fun because like I got to team up with my boys that I haven't seen in a few months. So we all got to work together, and I was just managing. Like that's all I was doing. I was just on the outside, just being a nuisance, working heel, and it was funny because like I was connecting with the crowd and just like giving them reasons to like boo us, right? And
Hmm.
there was this one guy in a crowd in particular who he had a bald head. Like I don't know his name, and sorry. And if you're watching this episode, you know who you are. But he had hair on the side of his head, and he started like he's just barking at me and just barking. And I was like, bro, I'm gonna be honest. And I told him I was like, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't understand anything you say because the glare on your dome is just blinding the hell out of me. And he goes, well, why don't you take off your hat? Show us your hair. And I was like, fine. It's like, you wish you had hair like mine. And like it just shut down the whole conversation. And like
That's
as soon
awesome.
as as soon as our boys won, I just looked at him. I was like, you big mad, bro. He was like,
No,
I want
and
to see
down south is such a different crowd than what we see up here in the Northeast. Um, they're really big on heat
you.
and hero. They're really big on that. They eat that up. Um, so sorry, background noises. I'm at a public place,
It's all good.
but yeah, man. The art of wrestling still lives down there. And I tell all the boys, any chance that you get to work down south, do it because there's nothing like it. There's a reason AWA was timeless. There's a reason why Crockett Promotions were so epic, and why Jerry Lawler, did all the amazing things that he did in Memphis. That crowd, that energy down south is it can be scary, especially when you don't look like the people down south. But it's also very rewarding to perform in front of.
Yeah. It's been fun because like being from that, I was living in Maryland right before I moved up to Massachusetts, getting to work in the DMV, between Virginia, Delaware, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and into Maryland, obviously, and then coming up north and getting to work in Connecticut and Maine and stuff. It is like there's a big contrast, and it is
Oh yeah,
so
it's night
cool
and
to
day.
be able to like I get to adapt and learn and pull and push myself into different ways, and it's so rewarding when I hear like the crowd either cheering for me or they're booing me. I don't really care. I just want your reactions, and it's fun to always get those reactions.
That's our job, man. Our job is to get that reaction from the crowd, to play their emotions like a instrument. um, I feel like nowadays wrestling has become really selfish, where a lot of talent wrestle for them, and that's the worst thing that you can do because your job is not to entertain yourself. You're supposed to be there and work for the crowd, and when you work for the crowd, man, you get so much more out of it. Get so much more out of it. I know guys that can hit a 630 but can't sell a t-shirt because they don't connect with the crowd. You know what I mean? Like there's things that you have to do. There's levels to that, and just being one of the people is the easiest way to make it in this business, man. Like you gotta make them either love you or hate you, but you have to make them love you or hate you for the way you make them feel, not just because they can't stand you. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
like this go away heat is very different than I'm booing you because you're a villain. You know?
Yeah. I feel like, and I that's why I appreciate the challenge because I know a lot of people tell me that like whenever you get booked somewhere, they usually tend to book you as a face because they want to see if you could connect with the crowd. And I appreciate that challenge. I'm not afraid to like go run after it because I think it's very important that like if a crowd could connect with you as a face, when you turn heel, it just makes it that much easier and then like that much sweeter when they boo you and then when they come back to cheering you.
Right. Well, I mean, it's sometimes it's hard to get over as a baby face because especially when you're young, when you're first new in the game, um, you're too self-conscious, right? You're still doubting yourself, second guessing yourself. So it's hard to get over as a baby face. That's why a lot of guys start off as as a villain, because when you're doing all this obnoxious stuff that you don't naturally do, you know what I mean? You can kind of separate yourself from the character, because that's the character taking over at that point. But what they don't realize is that it's the same thing on both ends. I mean, you could be the nicest guy in the world and be a terrible baby face. You have to believe that. So that's a unique challenge to many different people. Um, but that's where your basics come in, right? Like the easiest way to be a baby face is to out wrestle the villain, to follow the rules, to make sure that the crowd knows what the rules are, so that the villain can cheat on them, because if the villain is cheating and the crowd doesn't know what rules are established, that doesn't mean anything, you
Right.
know. So that's the type of thing that you need to get over.
Yeah, I feel like, and that's the thing too, is like you've got to be able to remember, like when you're working, right, or you're in the game, like it's always about, you don't whatever, like whatever Red Dog does, right? Cliff isn't that person. Like that's a whole different person. And maybe there might be elements to it that is the same, but I feel like a lot of people just forget that they're like, oh well, if I do this, people are gonna boo me, or they're gonna hate me for this, or I'm gonna get canceled because I said something. And I'm like, bro, it's not gonna happen. Like it's you
You know,
gotta
the
let those fears go.
the cancel culture is ridiculous. It and wrestling fans nowadays have become so toxic with it that they forget to enjoy wrestling.
Yeah,
Like you can't cancel a villain for being a villain. You know what I mean? Like you know Tom Richardson from 42nd Main Street didn't say that. That was Filthy Tom Sawyer. You know what I mean? Whatever his gimmick is, like it's a character that he's playing. You don't go on Twitter and curse out Martin Scorsese because Robert De Niro said the N word in a movie. You know what I mean? Like it's not. I don't understand what this entitlement is. You gotta just enjoy it for what it is. As long as people aren't doing any real life evil, then just enjoy wrestling and stop trying to dictate it. Like just be a fan, enjoy the ride. Let the performers take you on whatever journey this story takes. I think everybody's so quick to jump on Twitter or on Facebook and complain and complain and complain until they get their way. But bro, getting your way is boring. It's
yep,
boring. If you know what's going to happen all the time because you're begging and pleading for it, you're never going to be entertained. So just
never.
just enjoy the business.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I did a I did a promo with Pure Ignorance, and it was myself and my boy Prince Machiavelli. We were running as a tag team,
Okay.
and it was the first time that we've ever done a promo together, right? So we did one where it was like, well, it was our second actually, but we were doing one where I was writing a letter to him about some tights that he had made, and I was like, I didn't know what colors to use in your tights, but it was because of the grimy Scott saying that we're a hot cup of coffee. I was like, that's it. I'm gonna make his tights black, and then we're gonna add a little cream to it because cream always rises to the top. And I was like, is that racist? Is that how you get canceled? It's like, how do you get canceled? Is there a button that you push and you push that button a million times, or does a million people push the button one time? Like people just they laughed their ass off because they're like, oh, like, is that racist? They're like, yo,
No, it's funny because you got to walk on eggshells around everything.
yep,
Um, but at the same time, you made light of a serious situation, and that's really what wrestling is supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like we're supposed to forget our mundane, terrible everyday lives, our 9 to 5s, our routines, and enjoy something different for the art of it. You know, and we just as long as we keep doing that, then we're doing something. We're pushing it forward.
yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Let me ask you this question: what was the moment that brought you into the business?
The moment that brought me into the business, what do you mean? That made me a fan, or the moment that I decided I needed to get in the business?
That
The
the
moment I
moment that,
decided I needed to
yeah,
get in the business, um, it was about 2:15 in the morning, and I just watched ECW, and there was a commercial for the House of Hardcore, and I was 14 years old, and I just saw Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko wrestle, and I was like, I need to do this. I was doing judo at the time. I was wrestling in high school at the time. I said, I need to do this. So I called the number. I left a message. They called me back the next day, um, and I got my ass to Philadelphia from the Bronx, and that's how it started.
First, like Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko, like master
Yeah,
class of
that's how
everything.
it started. I was 14. I lied. I said I was 16 so that I could train because they wouldn't let me. Um, my very first bump, I got a concussion because someone who I'm not going to name didn't teach us how to hit the ropes or anything, but wanted to practice very dangerous collar and elbow suplexes on us. So,
Mm.
but then I met Perry Saturn and everything changed. So,
Well, that worked out, I guess.
mhm.
Also, member of the Radicals, so look at that. You out there
Yeah, I mean,
meeting 3 to 4.
learning from Perry was different, man. Like that, the way those Kowalski guys train, man, it was just different. It was no nonsense. It was very militant, but very precise. Um, and it was protect your body first and learn the situation second. You know what I mean? Which is great because I feel like a lot of schools try to push people into the deep end, or students nowadays, they see, oh, I watch 20 episodes of wrestling a week, I know how to do this. It's not like that, like it's really not. It's not a mattress, that you're bumping on. It hurts. It
Yeah,
hurts, and I don't care if you have the best ring in the world. It still hurts, and you know, just not tucking your chin correctly will ruin your day. The
real
rope burn will
fast.
ruin your day. There's plenty of times that I couldn't sleep on my side that I like to sleep on because my ribs were burned raw. You know, so you guys gotta. There's a lot of sacrifice in this, and not everybody's willing to pay it.
It's very true. It's very true. Now, like I had gone down to it was funny because like one of the things I used to when I first started training in Maryland, we were training outside, and it was like February. I had only been doing it for like a month, and I thought like the greatest thing for me to try at 30 degrees in February in Maryland was to try Kira Tozawa's giant senton splash, and that ring did not give, nor
Yeah,
nor did anything else except the
you
air in
you,
my lungs.
you should have bumped on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, probably had the same effect.
Oh yeah, no, you probably would have been better off.
Yeah,
I
and then
um
I was gonna say
I
my
learned how
trainer
to
looked
bump
at
in a
me.
boxing ring, man. It's not fun.
Yeah, I bumped in a couple boxing rings. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't like
yeah,
this.
I
I don't
don't I
like
don't
this.
recommend it. I see why those guys, get hit and then their head dribbles off the ground and they don't get back up because they're gone.
Yep, there's
If
nothing
the
there.
punch didn't do it, that did. So,
Facts. So let me ask, man, because I'm kind of curious to hear this, man. What's one of the worst bumps you've either taken or seen?
the worst bump I ever took was my very first bump. It was that collar and elbow suplex I told you about. How I have a neck, I still don't know. It was not good. Um, I've seen some really ugly ones, man. I just saw one. A guy goes for a 630 and lawn darts himself.
Mm,
Um, I've seen um, I've seen a guy go for a tope and get caught on the top rope and then smash his teeth onto the edge of the apron. Um, I've seen a lot of things that could have been avoided. And then there's bumps that look routine and everything should be all right, but something's a little off and it's different. Like what the muscle buster on Tyson Kidd. Like
right.
that was tragic. Masawa, rest in peace, passed away on a bump that he's did a million times. Back suplex off the top rope. That was his last bump. You
Mm.
know, um, I saw Hayabusa snap his neck. There's things like that that stay with you, stay with you. You know, I wish that I didn't see a lot of that stuff, man. A lot of those guys, legends that we don't have today because of bad bumps or not taking care of their bodies the way they should. Um, which is why I'm always harping on my guys. I'm always on Sammy Diaz and always on Kylon King, always on Flash, always on Ichiban about protecting themselves, and not taking these unnecessary bumps and working smarter. And it's hard to tell these guys anything because they're the best in the freaking game, right? But um, that doesn't mean I'm not gonna, they do a destroyer that they shouldn't do, and I see a bump that shouldn't happen. It could be 3 in the morning. I'm blowing up their phone and I'm cursing them out. It's just it is what it is. That's this. It's the father in me. I'm gonna look out for those guys because this is what I do it for. I'm never getting in the ring again, so I do this now for that. You know, that's my job now is to enhance their minds and their psychology and put them in positions to succeed and make sure that their name gets heard around the world. That's my job and my responsibility as a booker, as a trainer. um, I tell those guys all the time, my job is to make it so that I could never afford to book you ever again. That's my job. The day that these guys have contracts that I can't even match one date on, I'll be the happiest man alive. Because that's what it is. It's about them.
See, and I like that. I like that aspect of that you're here to push them, right? Because I think that's what a lot of people kind of forget is that like while everybody is doing like their thing, it is still kind of like a team thing. Like you're still
No,
like
it's
out
it's it's all a,
promoting
it's all a
people.
team thing. It's all a team
Yeah,
thing. Like, what good does it do me as a promoter that one guy in my roster is over? Doesn't do anything for me. You know, if Ichiban doesn't have the Kylon King, the Brad Hollister, the Alec Price, the Channing Thomas, the Russell, then what is it gonna what is he gonna do? He can't wrestle himself. I mean, man, Ichiban could probably go out there and wrestle a broom and give you a 5 star, but it's not. You know what I mean? That's not what it's here for. You got to make everybody around you better. You know, in different ways and at different times. Because if everybody's over, then nobody's over, right?
right.
But if everybody knows when to pick and choose their spots and be the best at certain things, then everybody can shine. And that's the way you got to look at it. There's ebbs and flows to this.
I like that. I like that because I feel like for me, like I, like developing my moveset and stuff like that, and just like figuring out where I feel like I'm gonna shine. Like I don't like taking like crazy bumps. I'm not one of those guys, right? I can do some of those
It's
crazy
not
bumps, but I
necessary.
just choose. Yeah, and for me, it's like I've legit tell people like I have 5 wrestling moves. It's just what I tell them. It's
Listen,
usually
you're at bio, so Tom Santel. He told me that man right there, the pro wrestling rain man, probably the greatest mind in the history of wrestling, is Tom Santel. I love you, promise, appreciate you, brother. Um, he told me something that'll stick with me to the day that I die. He said, "Wrestling moves don't mean shit. It's how you go in and out of them."
mm,
And ever since I started looking at wrestling from those lights, from that perspective, bro, I appreciate it so much more. It's like I unlocked the Da Vinci Code. Like everything finally made sense. You know.
I like that actually. I'm gonna have to remember that and write that down. I'm gonna write
I
that in
mean,
my
I mean,
notebook.
think about it. Like as a wrestling fan, think about the moments in wrestling that you hold with you forever. It's never a spot. It's a
Mm,
feeling. And you got that feeling from the way they went in and out of those situations. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah. Because I could tell you, like for me, the moment that I like decided I was like I need to get into wrestling, right, was February 14th, 2011. And if you know, you know. If you don't know, I'm gonna tell you anyway because I love this moment. It's when The Rock came back for to be the guest host at WrestleMania. Like I remember the date. I remember where I was. I was still in the military. I was in Hawaii. I was getting ready to like just try to figure out what my next move was gonna be, and the electrical like when I tell you the story in person, right? We'll meet up. and you'll just see all the goosebumps race down my arm. And that moment, I was like, I feel like this is what's being called to me right now, is to do this. And I put it off and put it off and put it off and put it off all the way up until 2020. And then I was like, yeah, we're gonna go do this, and we're gonna go get this done, because I definitely enjoyed where I'm at with it.
Yeah, it's I remember being a kid and watching the Macho Man Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat, and I didn't understand the art of wrestling then, but I saw them wrestle, and it made me realize that no one else in that locker room at the time could do what these guys did.
Right.
It was like it was it was an eye-opening moment. Like I remember going to the Garden and seeing Michael Jordan put up 61. You know, and I'm in Madison Square Garden. I got my Patrick Ewing jersey on, and this guy came and obliterated probably the greatest Knicks team of all time, and got a standing ovation for it because New York couldn't believe what they just saw.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was the same thing when I saw Savage and Steamboat. It was like two people should not be able to do this at this level, and they did. And then I never thought I'd see anything like that. And then I got to see Bret the Hitman Hart wrestle.
Mm.
And people can have all the arguments they want to have and say who's the greatest ever, blah blah blah. It's Bret the Hitman Hart, and it's not even close. You know what I mean? What he could do in the ring. He never lied to you. He told you he was the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. I've been in the business 20 years. I've been watching it since I was 3 years old. I still haven't seen anyone better.
I like that.
Never lied to me.
I got you. I like that. I like that. Hey, so let me ask you, because now you've been in, like you said, you've been in the business for 20 plus years, right? What's one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn being in the business?
That not everybody takes the word brother as serious as they should. Like where I'm from, that word means something. And professional wrestlers, we're a fraternity. You know what I mean? We should be able to count on each other and rely on each other, when we're out there in the world, because a lot of the times it's just us against the world out there. You know what I mean? And yeah, you meet some good brothers along the way. There's a lot of them that really believe in that code and have that old school mentality, but then there's a lot of people that are your brother when it's convenient. There's a lot of people that I've reached out to, and said, hey man, I'm doing a memorial show for one of our brothers that passed. I can't make it that weekend, brother. I got a date. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, you were in this man's car. He was driving you to the airport. You can't go on a date Friday instead of Saturday. You know what I mean? So that's one of those lessons that I had to learn, that brother doesn't mean the same thing to everyone that it should. And then you learn not to give those people your time or your effort. You know what I mean? Like you see them, you stay casual with them, you shake their hand because that's what you do in the business. But you know that when shit hits the fan, that's not a person that you can turn to. I'm blessed to have a lot of good brothers. Ryan Frost, Ichiban, Sammy Diaz, Kylon King, Flash Waller, Alec Price, Channing Thomas, Thomas Santel, Big Bacon, Brad Hollister, Hammer Tunis, my OGs, Bo Douglas, Slick Wagner Brown. I got a lot of friends and family through this business. That's what keeps me in the business. That's what keeps me going strong. Jacob Fatu, shout out Big Oos. Those are my guys, and those people that I could call at 2 a.m. They're gonna answer the phone. You know what I mean? So
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot, because I know for me, like, that word brother, like, means something. So when you do say something like that, hey, if the moment that you use that word incorrectly, like we no longer become friends.
Yeah.
We will just separate and go on. I'll be professional with you and have conversations with you, but it don't mean that I'm gonna be like, yo, what's up, bro? It's just not gonna be that. It's
Yeah.
nah, no, not necessary. And I've lost a lot of brothers from like the military as well as just like a home life. And I was like, I don't got time to waste time. Like, so either you're in or you're out. And if you're out, hey, no disrespect, no harm, no foul. But if you're in and then you get out, hey man, I don't wish the worst things on you. But if you won the lottery and lost your ticket, hey man, tough breaks in these streets.
Yeah, man. And that's the other lesson that I could probably say is like, don't worry about what people say about you when you're in the room. You know what I mean? Worry about what they say about you when your back is turned.
Yeah,
Um, and that's really important. That's one of those lessons that I learned from Low Key. Another great brother, man, for real, for real. Owe a lot to him. Honestly, the reason I'm probably still alive having this conversation with you today is because of Low Key and what he's done for me. So, um, it's just eh, you have to like really be careful, with who you trust, because a lot of people, like I said, they're fair weather friends. They're your friends when it's convenient for them, when you can do something for them, when they want a booking, when they, hey, you know can you talk to this promoter for me, or oh, I need some merch, you think you could help me out, brother? It's like, okay, but what happens when I'm not in the room? you know so
yeah.
that's one of those lessons that I think a lot of young guys should learn to, be careful who you put your trust in, and trust their actions and their patterns, not necessarily their words.
I like that. I like that. Hey, so we're gonna jump this over to my favorite part of the 3 Count Podcast, and it is the 3 Count Podcast 10 count questions. And Mr. GMX, this is how it works. I'm gonna fire off 10 questions at you, rapid, fast, and whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna put on imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing. And in the words of my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
Silence of the Lambs.
Let's go. Apple or Android?
Android.
Favorite cartoon?
Batman the animated series.
Let's go. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Favorite actor?
Al Pacino.
Let's go. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Favorite podcast?
Come on, man. It's the 3 Count Pod, baby.
That's right. It's not like we don't have this marketed everywhere for you to watch.
What's wrong with you, baby?
Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Damn, that's tough because there's so many people. But you know what? You should reach out to Big Bacon Brad Hollister. Congratulations, man. My man just became a dad.
Yeah, dad of 2. Shout outs to that man. You know what's funny is that the majority of the names that you listed off about having on the that you've had like that you consider your brothers have been on this podcast. Slick, Dustin, Brad.
Yeah, those are my guys, man.
Alec,
Bacon is so cool, bro. He's like the coolest dude in the world. So just hearing him talk, the knowledge he gives you, and how raw he gives it to you, you know what I mean? I think he's real
he's a
cool to
great
have
dude.
on camera,
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun
Wrestling
having great
Open champ.
conversations with him. Yeah, currently.
That's right.
Last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word?
My favorite curse word?
Yeah,
I see. It's got to be fuck, because it's a verb, it's an adjective. You know what I mean? It's a sound effect. Sometimes fuck doesn't even mean nothing. You know what I mean? So it's just yeah. I gotta go with fuck.
That's a great one. I love it because it's one of those words where I like to include it with other words. So I'll be like, fucking incredible. Like
yeah, no, it's a sentence enhancer.
Yes.
That's what it is.
So those are all my questions for you, man. The last thing I need from you is to let all of our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Well, you could find me at GM Alex Rojas on the socials, at Lit Pro Wrestling on the socials, at Test the Strength Wrestling 1 at the socials. And you can come to my next show, man, March 30th in Manchester, Connecticut at Building 4. Legacy is Timeless presents Certified. And it's going to be an amazing event, man.
Hell yeah. So he gave you all of his handles. He told you where you can find him. He even gave you the date to his next show. And you know what to do, or you know what that means. Like every great part of a wrestling match, we got to take this home because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog, man, the man that led you up that mountain called wrestling. And, you know, like I said, it's never about me. It's about who's into the ring. So who's into the ring? You see him right there, Mr. GMX himself. And you guys know what to do. Tune in to the next episode and be there. Or you legitimately follow us on all of our social media platforms. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're listening to us on Amazon Music. Or you're even checking us out on iHeartRadio or whatever that dumb jingle is that they do. You're buying all of our merch on Pro Wrestling Tees. You're even telling your mom, your dad, your uncle, your auntie, your grandma, your grandfather, your stepbrother who you swore got removed off the family tree 3 or 4 times, your dog, your best friends, your enemies, because we love haters too. You're doing all that stuff, or you're really just kind of waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for the outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii.
Peace.
What's going on? It is Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And what we need from you guys is just kind of show some support, right? We want you guys to go to our YouTube channel at the 3 Count Podcast, go on to our Twitch channel, 3 Count Pod, or even our Facebook page, 3 Count Podcast, and just give us a like, follow, subscribe, even give us a comment, right? Do all that cool stuff. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your enemies, right? Or you can even come talk to us and just chat us up, right? Find us on Twitter at 3count_pod. Find us on IG and on TikTok at 3 Count Pod. Go ahead and leave us those comments. We want to hear from all of you guys. We're going to keep putting on videos and stuff like that. We want to keep making this content better, so we want your guys' support. Also, if you guys want to, go support us at prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count Podcast, or even find us on foryourwear.com. Give us the support. Show us your guys' love, because we want to give it right back to y'all. So, in the meantime, between time, love y'all.